Welcome back to Coinology. Why the 1994 1-cent coin may look like an ordinary penny that millions of people have handled without a second thought, but when you slow down, look closely, and truly understand what this small copper-colored coin represents, you begin to realize that it carries far more value than its face value of 1 cent. In fact, the 1994 Lincoln cent stands at the crossroads of American history, modern minting technology, metal composition changes, and collector demand, making it one of the most talked about pennies among both beginner and advanced collectors. While most people see loose change, serious collectors see potential, rarity, errors, history, and sometimes life-changing value hidden in plain sight. The 1994 1-cent coin was struck during a time when the United States Mint was already deep into the copper-plated zinc era. Unlike older pennies made of solid copper, the 1994 penny is composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating, a change that began in 1982 due to rising copper prices. This shift alone makes the 1994 penny part of a critical period in U.S. coinage history, where economics directly influenced the physical makeup of everyday money. The standard weight of a 1994 penny is approximately 2.50 grams, significantly lighter than the 3.11 grams of pre-1982 copper cents. This difference in weight is one of the easiest ways collectors distinguish modern cents from older copper issues. When we talk about the coin symbol and identification, the 1994 penny carries the familiar 1-cent denomination on the reverse, clearly stating its face value, but the true identity of the coin lies in its details. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's right-facing portrait dominates the design, a symbol of unity, leadership, and endurance that has appeared on U.S. cents since 1909. The inscriptions "In God We Trust" above Lincoln's head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1994 to the right complete the front design. If the coin was minted in Denver, it carries a small D mint mark beneath the date, while Philadelphia issues traditionally carry no mint mark. San Francisco issues exist primarily as proof coins, struck with special care for collectors rather than circulation. The reverse design of the 1994 penny features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The memorial is not just decorative, it is deeply symbolic, representing remembrance, respect, and national heritage. If you look closely at well-struck examples, you can even see the tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a detail that many people overlook but that collectors highly appreciate. The inscriptions "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" surround the memorial, reinforcing the idea of unity from many, a theme that perfectly matches Lincoln's legacy. Now, here is where the story becomes truly interesting and where the idea of big money enters the conversation. While the vast majority of 1994 pennies are worth only 1 cent in worn condition, certain rare varieties, errors, and high-grade examples can be worth dramatically more. Coin collecting is not about the average coin, it is about the exceptions. It is about the small percentage of coins that escape the mint with unusual characteristics, mistakes, or extraordinary quality. These are the coins that collectors fight over, that grading companies certify, and that auction houses proudly showcase. One of the most important factors affecting the value of a 1994 1-cent coin is condition. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state, and even within mint state there are multiple levels, such as MS63, MS65, MS67, and beyond. A 1994 penny that has never been circulated, that retains its original luster, sharp details, and flawless surfaces, can command significantly higher prices than a worn example. In extreme cases, coins graded MS68 or higher by professional grading services become incredibly rare, sometimes with only a handful known to exist. These top population coins are where eye-watering prices begin to appear. Another major value driver is mint errors. Errors are unintentional mistakes that occur during the minting process, and they are among the most exciting discoveries in modern coin collecting. A 1994 penny with a double die error, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misaligned die, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the strength of the doubling. Off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned on the coin blank, can also bring significant premiums. Broad strikes, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet errors are other possibilities that collectors actively search for in rolls of pennies. Even today, there is also ongoing fascination with transitional errors and composition anomalies. Although 1994 pennies are supposed to be copper-plated zinc, rumors and rare discoveries of wrong metal strikes always keep collectors hopeful. If a genuine 1994 penny were ever confirmed to be struck on a copper planchet or another incorrect metal, its value could skyrocket into 6 or even 7 figures, depending on uniqueness and authentication. These are the kinds of discoveries that fuel headlines, viral videos, and sensational valuations that reach into the tens of millions of dollars. While such cases are extraordinarily rare, the possibility alone keeps people searching through their change. The idea of a market value reaching $98 million is often tied to the concept of unique coins, one-of-a-kind mint errors, or historically significant specimens rather than typical circulation strikes. In the world of numismatics, value is driven by rarity, demand, condition, and story. A coin that combines all four can achieve almost mythical status. If a single, undisputed, unique 1994 penny with a dramatic mint error in perfect condition were to surface, backed by strong provenance and certification, the numismatic world would take notice instantly. Auctions would erupt with competition, collectors would push boundaries, and prices could reach levels that seem unbelievable to the average person. Beyond value, the historical context of the 1994 penny matters deeply. This coin was produced during a period of economic globalization, technological advancement, and change in American manufacturing. The minting process in the 1990s relied heavily on precision machinery, quality control, and mass production, making major errors less common than in earlier decades. That is exactly why when errors do appear from this era, they are taken so seriously. A mistake in a modern coin often means something truly unusual happened at the mint. The 1994 1-cent coin also reflects a time when physical money was still central to daily life. Before digital payments dominated, pennies passed through countless hands every day, carrying small fragments of history with them. Each coin traveled through stores, pockets, banks, and homes, quietly witnessing everyday life. That sense of silent storytelling is one reason collectors feel such a strong emotional connection to coins. Even modern ones like the 1994 cent.as collectors continue to search through rolls, sets, and collections. The 1994 penny remains a symbol of hidden potential. It reminds people that treasure does not always look glamorous. Sometimes it looks like a dull brown coin sitting at the bottom of a jar. Sometimes it is ignored for decades before someone finally looks closely enough to realize what they are holding. That moment of discovery is what drives the passion behind coin collecting and what keeps interest in coins like the 1994 1 cent alive. And this is only the beginning of the story, because when we go deeper into mint marks, proof issues, population reports, auction records, and real-world examples of rare 1994 pennies that have already sold for impressive amounts, the picture becomes even more fascinating and more intense, revealing why this seemingly ordinary coin continues to attract attention, speculation, and dreams of extraordinary value. When we move deeper into the story of the 1994 1-cent coin, we begin to understand that its true power does not come from how many were minted, but from how few survived in exceptional condition and how even fewer exist with unusual characteristics. The United States Mint produced billions of pennies in the 1990s, and 1994 was no exception. Philadelphia and Denver alone struck enormous quantities intended purely for circulation, meaning these coins were immediately exposed to wear, scratches, environmental damage, and human handling. Because of this, finding a 1994 penny today that looks exactly as it did the moment it left the mint is far more difficult than people assume. Collectors place extreme importance on surface quality. On a 1994 penny, the copper plating is thin, and even light circulation can expose the zinc core underneath, leading to discoloration, bubbling, or corrosion. Once the zinc core is compromised, the coin loses much of its collectible appeal. That is why high-grade examples with full original red luster, no spots, no streaks, and no plating issues are so scarce. These coins are often described as full red and are highly prized when certified by professional grading companies. A full red 1994 penny with razor-sharp details and flawless surfaces represents the very top tier of modern cent collecting. Proof versions of the 1994 penny also play an important role in the overall picture. These coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint using specially prepared dies and polished planchets. Proof coins were never intended for circulation, instead, they were sold directly to collectors as part of annual proof sets. The surfaces of proof pennies are mirror-like, with frosted details that contrast beautifully against the reflective fields. While proof 1994 pennies are more common than ultra-high-grade circulation strikes, their value still depends heavily on condition. Even a tiny scratch or fingerprint can dramatically reduce desirability, while flawless proofs can command strong premiums. Market value is where reality, speculation, and collector emotion intersect. For most circulated 1994 pennies, the value remains 1 cent. Uncirculated examples might sell for a few cents to a few dollars depending on quality. Certified high-grade examples, especially those graded MS67 or higher, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Error coins can climb far beyond that, sometimes reaching 5 figures or more. When people talk about extreme valuations such as $98 million, they are usually referencing hypothetical or singular coins that combine absolute rarity, historical importance, and flawless condition, the kind of coin that exists outside normal market rules. It is important to understand that the coin market is driven by competition. When two or more wealthy collectors decide they must own the finest known example of a coin, prices can explode far beyond what guides or catalogs predict. This has happened repeatedly throughout numismatic history. A coin's value is not fixed, it is proven at auction when someone is willing to pay more than anyone else. In that environment, even a modern coin like the 1994 penny can become a battleground if it represents something truly unique. Another fascinating aspect of the 1994 penny is how it fits into the broader Lincoln cent series. Lincoln cents are the most widely collected coins in the United States. Millions of people collect them by date, by mint mark, or by variety. This enormous collector base means demand is always present. Even small discoveries within the series can generate massive attention. When a new variety or error is confirmed, collectors rush to find examples, driving prices upward almost overnight. The Lincoln cents series has a long history of surprise rarities, and that history fuels constant interest in every date, including 1994. The role of grading companies cannot be ignored. Certification by respected third-party graders adds legitimacy, trust, and liquidity to a coin. A raw 1994 penny might be dismissed as ordinary, but once authenticated, graded, and encapsulated, it becomes part of the official numismatic record. Population reports track how many coins exist at each grade level, and when those numbers are extremely low, the perceived rarity increases dramatically. A population of 1 or 2 at the highest grade instantly turns a coin into a trophy piece. Collectors are also drawn to storytelling, and the 1994 penny has plenty of narrative power. It represents a modern era, yet it still connects directly to Abraham Lincoln, one of the most revered figures in American history. It exists at a time when pennies were already being questioned for their usefulness, yet they continue to be produced in massive numbers. This tension between tradition and practicality adds depth to the coin story and makes it more than just metal. There is also the psychological aspect of the hunt. People love the idea that something incredibly valuable could be hiding in plain sight. The 1994 penny feeds that dream. Every jar of change, every roll from the bank, every old collection inherited from a relative carries the possibility, however small, of containing something extraordinary. That sense of possibility is powerful, and it keeps interest alive year after year. As online platforms, auctions, and social media continue to amplify rare coin discoveries, even modern pennies receive global attention. A single verified discovery can spark thousands of videos, articles, and discussions. The market reacts quickly, and prices adjust just as fast. In this environment, information itself becomes valuable, and understanding the nuances of a coin like the 1994 penny gives collectors an edge, and still, there is more to uncover. From detailed discussions of known error types to real auction results and how collectors can realistically evaluate their own 1994 pennies, the story keeps expanding, layer by layer, revealing why this coin refuses to fade into obscurity and instead continues to inspire curiosity, debate, and the dream of extraordinary worth. As we go even deeper into the world of the 1994 1-cent coin, it becomes clear that knowledge is the most powerful tool a collector can possess. Many people unknowingly spend potentially valuable coins simply because they do not know what to look for. The difference between an ordinary penny and a highly desirable one often comes down to microscopic details that are invisible to the untrained eye. This is especially true for modern coins like the 1994 cent, where rarity is not about low mintage numbers but about survival, precision, and anomalies. One of the most overlooked aspects of the 1994 penny is strike quality. Even when a coin appears uncirculated, weak strikes can reduce its desirability. On a strong strike, Lincoln's hair details are crisp, the lettering is sharp, and the lines of the Lincoln Memorial are fully defined. Weakly struck coins may show flatness in these areas, even if they were never circulated. Collectors pay close attention to this because strike quality directly affects grade, and grade directly affects value. A perfectly struck 1994 penny with blazing original luster stands out immediately among thousands of ordinary examples. Another critical factor is color designation. Professional grading services classify copper-based coins as red, red-brown, or brown. Full red coins are the most valuable, especially for modern cents. Over time, exposure to air and humidity causes copper to darken, and once that bright red color is lost, it can never be naturally restored. That is why finding a 1994 penny that still retains full red color decades after it was minted is so challenging. These coins often spent their entire lives protected in rolls, bags, or collections, untouched by circulation. Error collecting adds another dimension to the 1994 penny's appeal. Some errors are dramatic and immediately visible, such as off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, or clipped planchets where a piece of the coin is absent due to a cutting error. Others are more subtle, such as die cracks, cuds, or minor doubled elements. Each error tells a story about what went wrong during the minting process, and collectors love these stories because they make each coin unique. No two errors are exactly alike, and that uniqueness is a powerful driver of value. There is also the topic of die varieties, which often gets confused with errors. Varieties occur when a die itself is altered, damaged, or modified in a consistent way, creating repeated characteristics across multiple coins. If a distinct 1994 die variety were confirmed and catalogued, it could instantly become a must-have item for Lincoln cent specialists. History has shown that once a variety is officially recognized, demand surges and prices follow. This possibility keeps collectors examining even the most common dates with careful attention. The idea of extreme market values often sparks skepticism, but it is rooted in real examples from numismatic history. Coins that were once considered ordinary have achieved extraordinary prices when they turned out to be unique or historically significant. The coin market does not operate on logic alone, it operates on emotion, prestige, and competition. A collector who owns the finest or only known example of a coin holds something that cannot be replaced, and that exclusivity has no ceiling when the right buyers are involved. The 1994 penny also benefits from timing. As older copper cents become increasingly scarce and expensive, more collectors turn their attention to later issues. Modern coins are accessible, affordable to search through, and still capable of producing exciting discoveries. This shift in focus has already increased interest in coins from the 1980s and 1990s, and that trend continues to grow. What was once ignored is now being studied, cataloged, and collected with serious intent. Technology has also changed the way coins are collected. High-resolution photography, digital microscopes, and online databases allow collectors to analyze coins in unprecedented detail. A 1994 penny can now be examined at a level that was impossible when it was first minted. This has led to new discoveries, better understanding of varieties, and a more informed collector base. As knowledge increases, so does appreciation for coins that were once dismissed as common. Another important element is long-term perspective. Many of today's most valuable coins were not considered special at the time of their release. They became valuable decades later as populations dwindled, collectors increased, and stories emerged. The 1994 penny is still relatively young in numismatic terms. As time passes, fewer high-quality examples will survive, and those that do will become increasingly important to collectors seeking completeness and perfection. The emotional pull of the Lincoln cent series cannot be overstated. It is often the first coin people collect, the first album they fill, and the first connection they make to numismatics. That emotional foundation supports long-term demand. When collectors return to the hobby later in life, they often start with Lincoln cents again, and that renewed interest continues to lift the entire series, including dates like 1994. All of this builds toward a single truth: the 1994 1-cent coin is far more than a piece of spare change. It is a canvas for rarity, condition, history, and human desire. Every detail matters, every anomaly counts, and every surviving high-grade example carries significance beyond its face value. And as we continue exploring real-world examples, known discoveries, and how collectors can realistically identify and evaluate their own coins, the story only grows richer, deeper, and more compelling. When collectors begin to seriously evaluate a 1994 1-cent coin, one of the first realizations they encounter is how narrow the line is between ordinary and extraordinary. Two coins struck on the same day, from the same mint, using the same dies, can end up worlds apart in value decades later. One might be dull, spotted, and worn from circulation, while the other remains brilliant, sharply struck, and virtually untouched, preserved by chance or intention. This randomness is part of what makes modern coin collecting so fascinating and, at times, so intense. Storage and handling play a massive role in the survival of high-quality 1994 pennies. Coins that were stored in original bank-wrapped rolls, sealed bags, or early collector holders had a much higher chance of retaining their original appearance. Exposure to humidity, heat, and improper materials can permanently damage copper-plated coins. Even something as simple as touching a coin with bare fingers can leave oils that slowly eat into the surface over time. That is why pristine 1994 pennies are so elusive today and why collectors place such a premium on untouched examples. Another layer of interest comes from comparing Philadelphia and Denver issues. While mintage numbers alone do not dictate rarity for modern cents, subtle differences in strike quality, die wear, and production conditions can influence which mint produces finer coins in a given year. Some collectors believe certain years favor one mint over the other in terms of high-grade survivability. As a result, top-grade examples from either mint can become targets for specialists attempting to build the finest possible registry sets. Registry set competition has dramatically changed the modern coin market. Collectors compete online to assemble the highest-graded sets of specific coin series, and every incremental upgrade matters. If a collector needs a 1994 penny in the highest grade available to complete or improve their set, they may be willing to pay far beyond typical market value. This competitive environment can push prices into surprising territory, especially when population numbers are extremely low. The idea of a coin being worth big money is often misunderstood. It does not mean every example is valuable, it means that certain examples have the potential to be extraordinary. The 1994 penny fits this pattern perfectly. The average coin remains common, but the best, rarest, or most unusual examples become objects of obsession. This gap between common and elite is what fuels speculation, searching, and endless discussion within the collector community. Historical comparisons help put this into perspective. In the past, collectors overlooked many dates that later became key issues simply because their rarity was not immediately apparent. As time passed and data became clearer, those same coins rose dramatically in value. The 1994 penny exists in a similar space today, where its full story is still being written. Each newly discovered error, variety, or top-grade specimen adds another chapter. The concept of provenance also adds depth to a coin's value. A 1994 penny that can be traced back to a known collection, an early discovery, or a notable auction gains an additional layer of desirability. Collectors love stories, and a documented history can elevate a coin beyond its physical characteristics. In extreme cases, provenance can be the difference between a high-value coin and a legendary one. Market psychology cannot be ignored. When excitement builds around a particular coin, attention follows, and prices respond. Even rumors or speculation can temporarily drive demand, while confirmed discoveries can have lasting impact. The coin market is dynamic, and modern issues like the 1994 penny are increasingly part of that conversation as collectors search for the next great find. Education is the key to navigating this landscape. Collectors who take the time to learn about grading standards, error types, and market trends are far more likely to recognize opportunity when it appears. The 1994 penny rewards patience and attention to detail. It invites collectors to slow down, examine closely, and think critically rather than dismissing it as ordinary. At its core, the story of the 1994 1-cent coin is about potential. It represents the idea that value is not always obvious and that even in the modern era, discoveries remain possible. It challenges assumptions about what is rare and what is common, reminding collectors that the final word on any coin is never truly written until time has passed and knowledge has grown. And as we continue forward, the focus will shift toward real-world outcomes, how collectors can practically approach their own 1994 pennies, what to look for first, and how the journey from pocket change to prized collectible actually unfolds in the real market, step by step. When collectors begin to seriously evaluate a 1994 1-cent coin, one of the first realizations they encounter is how narrow the line is between ordinary and extraordinary. Two coins struck on the same day, from the same mint, using the same dies, can end up worlds apart in value decades later. One might be dull, spotted, and worn from circulation, while the other remains brilliant, sharply struck, and virtually untouched, preserved by chance or intention. This randomness is part of what makes modern coin collecting so fascinating and, at times, so intense. Storage and handling play a massive role in the survival of high-quality 1994 pennies. Coins that were stored in original bank-wrapped rolls, sealed bags, or early collector holders had a much higher chance of retaining their original appearance. Exposure to humidity, heat, and improper materials can permanently damage copper-plated coins. Even something as simple as touching a coin with bare fingers can leave oils that slowly eat into the surface over time. That is why pristine 1994 pennies are so elusive today and why collectors place such a premium on untouched examples. Another layer of interest comes from comparing Philadelphia and Denver issues. While mintage numbers alone do not dictate rarity for modern cents, subtle differences in strike quality, die wear, and production conditions can influence which mint produces finer coins in a given year. Some collectors believe certain years favor one mint over the other in terms of high-grade survivability. As a result, top-grade examples from either mint can become targets for specialists attempting to build the finest possible registry sets. Registry set competition has dramatically changed the modern coin market. Collectors compete online to assemble the highest graded sets of specific coin series, and every incremental upgrade matters. If a collector needs a 1994 penny in the highest grade available to complete or improve their set, they may be willing to pay far beyond typical market value. This competitive environment can push prices into surprising territory, especially when population numbers are extremely low. The idea of a coin being worth big money is often misunderstood. It does not mean every example is valuable. It means that certain examples have the potential to be extraordinary. The 1994 penny fits this pattern perfectly. The average coin remains common, but the best, rarest, or most unusual examples become objects of obsession. This gap between common and elite is what fuels speculation, searching, and endless discussion within the collector community. Historical comparisons help put this into perspective. In the past, collectors overlooked many dates that later became key issues simply because their rarity was not immediately apparent. As time passed and data became clearer, those same coins rose dramatically in value. The 1994 penny exists in a similar space today, where its full story is still being written. Each newly discovered error, variety, or top-grade specimen adds another chapter. The concept of provenance also adds depth to a coin's value. A 1994 penny that can be traced back to a known collection, an early discovery, or a notable auction gains an additional layer of desirability. Collectors love stories, and a documented history can elevate a coin beyond its physical characteristics. In extreme cases, provenance can be the difference between a high-value coin and a legendary one. Market psychology cannot be ignored. When excitement builds around a particular coin, attention follows, and prices respond. Even rumors or speculation can temporarily drive demand, while confirmed discoveries can have lasting impact. The coin market is dynamic, and modern issues like the 1994 penny are increasingly part of that conversation as collectors search for the next great find. Education is the key to navigating this landscape. Collectors who take the time to learn about grading standards, error types, and market trends are far more likely to recognize opportunity when it appears. The 1994 penny rewards patience and attention to detail. It invites collectors to slow down, examine closely, and think critically rather than dismissing it as ordinary. At its core, the story of the 1994 1-cent coin is about potential. It represents the idea that value is not always obvious and that even in the modern era, discoveries remain possible. It challenges assumptions about what is rare and what is common, reminding collectors that the final word on any coin is never truly written until time has passed and knowledge has grown. And as we continue forward, the focus will shift toward real-world outcomes, how collectors can practically approach their own 1994 pennies, what to look for first, and how the journey from pocket change to prized collectible actually unfolds in the real market, step by step. When someone finally decides to take a closer look at their own 1994 1-cent coins, the process often begins with curiosity and quickly turns into fascination. What starts as a casual inspection can become a deep dive into magnification, lighting, and comparison. Collectors learn very quickly that proper examination changes everything. Under magnification, surfaces reveal tiny scratches, die polish lines, contact marks, and sometimes features that are invisible to the naked eye. These details determine whether a coin is ordinary or something far more interesting. Lighting plays a crucial role in evaluating a 1994 penny. Harsh or uneven lighting can hide flaws or exaggerate them, while proper angled light reveals luster, texture, and strike quality. A truly high-grade coin will show smooth, flowing luster that moves evenly across the surface when the coin is tilted. Breaks in luster often indicate friction or wear, even if the coin otherwise looks clean. This subtle distinction is one of the most important grading factors and one of the hardest for beginners to master. Weight verification is another simple yet powerful tool. A standard 1994 penny should weigh approximately 2.50 grams. Even slight deviations can be meaningful. A significantly heavier or lighter coin may indicate an error, damage, or alteration. While most weight differences are explained by wear or plating loss, the act of weighing coins encourages careful handling and analytical thinking, habits that are essential for serious collectors. Collectors also learn the importance of comparison. Examining multiple 1994 pennies side by side makes differences in strike, color, and surface condition much more obvious. What looks impressive on its own may appear average when compared to a truly exceptional example. This comparative approach helps collectors refine their standards and avoid overestimating the quality or value of a coin. Another reality of the market is patience. Many collectors expect instant results, hoping to find a rare coin quickly. In truth, most successful discoveries come from long-term searching and disciplined evaluation. Rolls of pennies may yield nothing special for months, then suddenly produce a coin that stands out immediately. That moment of recognition, when experience and intuition align, is one of the most rewarding aspects of the hobby. The decision to have a coin professionally graded is a major step. Grading costs money, and not every coin is worth submitting. Experienced collectors learn to pre-grade their coins, estimating whether the potential value justifies the expense. For a 1994 penny, only coins with exceptional surfaces, color, strike, or clear errors usually make sense to submit. This decision-making process sharpens judgment and deepens understanding of the market. Once a coin is graded and encapsulated, it enters a different world. It becomes easier to buy, sell, and trade because its authenticity and condition are officially recognized. For top-grade 1994 pennies, certification transforms them from curiosities into legitimate market assets. These coins can be tracked, compared, and showcased, gaining visibility and status within the collector community. The emotional side of collecting cannot be separated from the financial side. Finding a special coin creates excitement, pride, and a sense of connection to history. Even if a coin never reaches extreme monetary value, the experience itself holds meaning. For many collectors, the journey matters as much as the destination, and the 1994 penny offers plenty of opportunities for both. Speculation often surrounds modern coins, but informed collectors balance optimism with realism. While stories of massive values capture attention, true success in collecting comes from knowledge, discipline, and appreciation of the coins themselves. The 1994 penny rewards those who approach it with respect and curiosity rather than blind hope. As more people enter the hobby and information continues to spread, competition increases. What was once overlooked becomes sought after, and standards rise. This evolution ensures that the best examples of the 1994 1-cent coin will continue to stand out and gain recognition over time, and as the story continues, the focus naturally shifts toward how the market records and remembers these coins, how auction results shape perception, and how a single sale can redefine what collectors believe is possible for a coin that began its life as simple pocket change. When auction results enter the conversation, perception changes dramatically. Numbers printed in auction catalogs or displayed on screens suddenly give weight to what once felt like speculation. For the 1994 1-cent coin, each recorded sale becomes a data point that collectors study closely. Even modest increases in price can signal growing interest, while record-setting results can instantly redefine expectations. Auctions do more than sell coins, they establish benchmarks that shape the future of the market. Collectors pay close attention to why a particular coin performed well at auction. Was it the highest graded example known? Did it have exceptional eye appeal? Was it a dramatic error or an unusually well-preserved specimen? The answers to these questions help others understand what the market truly values. Over time, patterns emerge, and those patterns guide future collecting strategies. For the 1994 penny, strong auction results reinforce the idea that quality and rarity, even in modern coins, are always rewarded. The role of storytelling at auction is also powerful. A coin described as the finest known, or as a remarkable survivor from a challenging production era, captures imagination. Collectors do not just buy metal, they buy narratives. When a 1994 penny is presented as something special, backed by facts, certification, and context, it becomes far more desirable than an anonymous example. As records accumulate, they form a historical trail. Future collectors will look back at early auction results to understand how perceptions evolved. Coins that seem expensive today may appear affordable decades later if demand continues to rise. This long-term perspective is essential for understanding how values can grow far beyond initial expectations. The idea of a $98 million valuation fits into this broader framework of possibility rather than certainty. Such a number represents the extreme upper limit of what could happen if a coin were truly unique, universally recognized, and fiercely contested by elite collectors. While most coins will never approach that level, the existence of such valuations keeps attention focused and fuels dreams. In the world of collectibles, imagination and ambition often push boundaries before reality catches up. Another important influence on value is cultural relevance. Abraham Lincoln remains one of the most admired figures in American history, and coins bearing his image carry enduring appeal. The Lincoln Cents series is deeply embedded in American culture, education, and nostalgia. This cultural foundation supports long-term demand and ensures that even modern issues like the 1994 penny remain relevant to future generations. Global interest in U.S. coins also continues to grow. Collectors from around the world participate in auctions, study American coinage, and compete for top examples. This international audience adds depth and resilience to the market. A rare or exceptional 1994 penny is not limited to domestic interest. It can attract bidders from multiple countries, each bringing their own motivations and resources. The evolution of online marketplaces has further expanded access. Coins can now be showcased to a global audience instantly, increasing transparency and competition. For modern coins, this exposure is particularly important, as it allows discoveries to gain recognition quickly. A remarkable 1994 penny found today can be known worldwide within days, accelerating its journey from obscurity to prominence. At the same time, this visibility raises standards. With more eyes on the market, claims must be supported by evidence. Authentication, grading, and documentation become even more critical. Serious collectors demand clarity, and coins that meet those standards earn trust and value. The 1994 penny, when properly presented and verified, fits neatly into this modern, information-driven market. Ultimately, the story of the 1994 1-cent coin is still unfolding. Each year adds new data, new discoveries, and new collectors. What seems settled today may be reconsidered tomorrow as fresh information emerges. This sense of ongoing discovery keeps the hobby alive and ensures that even the most ordinary-looking coins can surprise us. And as the journey continues, attention naturally turns toward the future, toward how collectors today are shaping tomorrow's rarities, and how the choices made now will determine which 1994 pennies become the legends of the decades ahead. When we look toward the future of the 1994 1-cent coin, it becomes clear that today's collectors are unknowingly shaping tomorrow's history. Every decision to save, grade, or study a coin changes the surviving population and influences how future generations will view that year. Coins that are ignored disappear into circulation and damage, while coins that are protected become reference points for quality and rarity. In this way, the fate of the 1994 penny is still being written right now. Younger collectors entering the hobby often start with modern coins because they feel familiar and accessible. The 1994 penny sits perfectly in that space. It is old enough to carry history, yet modern enough to be found in collections, rolls, and inherited change. As these collectors gain experience, their appreciation for subtle quality increases, and they begin to seek the best examples rather than just filling spaces. This shift naturally elevates demand for high-grade survivors. Another powerful influence is education. As more books, online guides, and digital archives include detailed information about modern Lincoln cents, awareness spreads. What was once overlooked becomes recognized. The moment a collector learns that a top-grade 1994 penny is genuinely scarce, perception changes instantly. Scarcity combined with knowledge creates desire, and desire drives value. There is also a growing trend of specialization within numismatics. Instead of collecting everything, many collectors focus deeply on narrow areas, such as a single decade, a single mint, or a specific type of error. A specialist in 1990s Lincoln cents may view the 1994 penny as a cornerstone of their collection. For such collectors, compromise is not acceptable. Only the finest or most unusual examples will do. Economic cycles also influence the coin market. During times of uncertainty, tangible assets often attract increased interest. Coins, with their blend of history, artistry, and portability, become appealing stores of value. While a penny may seem insignificant, a rare and highly graded one represents something far greater. The 1994 penny, when elevated into this category, transforms from small change into a symbol of preservation and foresight. The passage of time itself is perhaps the most important factor. As decades pass, fewer untouched examples remain. Accidents happen, collections are broken up, and coins are lost or damaged. Even modern coins are not immune to attrition. This slow but steady reduction in supply works silently, increasing the importance of those pieces that survive in top condition. What feels common today may feel scarce tomorrow. The emotional stories surrounding discoveries also leave a lasting impact. When someone finds an exceptional coin unexpectedly, that story spreads and inspires others. These narratives fuel participation and keep interest alive. The 1994 penny benefits from this phenomenon because it exists at the intersection of familiarity and possibility. It is a coin people recognize, yet it still holds secrets. Over time, price guides and market data will continue to evolve. Numbers will be revised, populations will be updated, and perceptions will adjust. Coins that consistently perform well at auction will earn reputations, and those reputations will endure. A top-tier 1994 penny, once established as a benchmark, can influence the entire market for that date. Ultimately, the 1994 1-cent coin stands as a reminder that value is not static. It grows from context, rarity, demand, and story. It challenges the assumption that only ancient or gold coins matter. In reality, even a small copper-plated zinc coin can carry enormous significance if it represents the best of its kind. And as the final layers of this story come into view, attention turns toward reflection, toward what this coin teaches collectors about patience, observation, and the unexpected rewards hidden within everyday objects, lessons that extend far beyond numismatics itself. When we step back and reflect on everything surrounding the 1994 1-cent coin, it becomes clear that its significance reaches beyond charts, grades, and prices. This coin represents the idea that history is not only found in ancient artifacts or rare gold pieces, but also in the simplest objects that pass through our hands every day. The 1994 penny is a quiet witness to a specific moment in time, carrying with it the economic realities, technological capabilities, and cultural values of its era. For many collectors, this realization changes how they view their collections. Coins stop being just items and start becoming connections. A 1994 penny might remind someone of childhood, of a time when pennies still mattered in everyday transactions, when counting change was a normal part of life. That emotional resonance adds a layer of value that cannot be measured in dollars alone, yet it strongly influences why people collect and why they are willing to pay for the best examples. The pursuit of excellence within a single date, like 1994, teaches discipline. It teaches collectors to slow down, to learn, and to appreciate nuance. Instead of chasing everything, they focus on understanding one thing deeply. This depth of understanding often leads to greater satisfaction and, in many cases, better financial outcomes. The 1994 penny rewards those who invest time and attention rather than those who rush. The broader coin community plays an essential role in shaping perception. Discussions, debates, and shared discoveries create collective knowledge. When someone identifies a new error or submits a top-grade coin, the entire community benefits from that information. The story of the 1994 penny is not written by one person, it is written by thousands of collectors contributing pieces of understanding over time. As technology continues to advance, future collectors will have even more powerful tools at their disposal. Imaging techniques, data analysis, and digital records will reveal details that are barely imaginable today. Coins like the 1994 penny will be studied with increasing precision, and that deeper understanding may lead to new classifications, varieties, or insights that further elevate certain examples. The idea of extraordinary value, including numbers like $98 million, captures attention because it symbolizes possibility. Whether or not such a figure is ever realized, it serves as a reminder that the ceiling for value is not fixed. It depends on rarity, recognition, and the passion of collectors. In a world where unique objects inspire competition, even a penny can become priceless under the right circumstances. At the same time, the true reward of collecting often lies in the journey rather than the destination. Searching through coins, learning their stories, and sharing discoveries with others creates a sense of purpose and enjoyment that transcends monetary value. The 1994 penny becomes a vehicle for that experience, accessible yet endlessly interesting. As we approach the closing thoughts, the message becomes clear. The 1994 1-cent coin is not just about money. It is about awareness, curiosity, and the ability to see potential where others see none. It challenges us to look closer, to question assumptions, and to appreciate the hidden layers of the ordinary. And with that understanding in mind, the final part of this story brings everything together, connecting history, value, and human curiosity into a single reflection on why this small coin continues to matter more than its size or face value would ever suggest. As the full picture of the 1994 1-cent coin comes into focus, it becomes impossible to ignore how perception shapes reality in the world of collecting. What society agrees is important, rare, or meaningful eventually becomes valuable. Coins are perfect examples of this truth. At one time, many now famous coins were treated as ordinary currency. They were spent, lost, and overlooked until collectors began to recognize their deeper significance. The 1994 penny exists at this same threshold, where understanding is still evolving and attention is still growing. One of the most powerful forces driving long-term value is consistency of interest. Coins that remain relevant across generations tend to perform best over time. The Lincoln cent has already proven its endurance, and the 1994 issue is firmly embedded within that lineage. As long as people continue to study Abraham Lincoln, American history, and the evolution of U.S. coinage, this coin will retain a place in the conversation. Another factor that strengthens the position of the 1994 penny is documentation. Every graded coin, every auction result, and every published study adds to the permanent record. Over time, this record transforms individual coins into reference points. When collectors can point to verified examples and trace their history, confidence grows. Confidence attracts serious buyers, and serious buyers support strong prices. The idea of legacy also plays an important role. Many collectors are not just building collections for themselves, but for future generations. A carefully chosen coin becomes something to pass down, a tangible link between past, present, and future. A high-quality 1994 penny, preserved and documented, can serve as such a link, carrying both monetary and educational value forward. There is also an element of quiet satisfaction in owning something rare that does not immediately announce itself. A penny does not draw attention the way a gold coin does. Its power lies in subtlety. Only those who understand truly appreciate it. This sense of shared knowledge creates a bond among collectors and adds to the coin's appeal. As markets evolve and tastes change, adaptability becomes key. Coins that can be appreciated from multiple angles tend to endure. The 1994 penny offers history, technical interest, condition rarity, and emotional connection. This combination makes it resilient. Even if one aspect falls out of favor, others remain to support interest. The story of the 1994 1-cent coin also teaches a broader lesson about value itself. Value is not inherent, it is assigned. It grows when people care, when they study, and when they compete. In that sense, collectors are not just participants in the market, they are creators of it. Every decision to recognize quality and rarity contributes to the coin's standing. As attention narrows to the finest examples, the gap between ordinary and extraordinary becomes even more pronounced. This separation is natural and inevitable. Over time, the best coins rise to the top, while the rest fade into the background. The 1994 penny is no exception. Its future will be defined by a small number of remarkable survivors that represent the very best of their kind, and as this long journey through history, value, condition, and perception nears its end, one final reflection remains. The 1994 1-cent coin reminds us that greatness does not always come in grand forms. Sometimes it comes quietly, wrapped in copper color, waiting patiently for someone curious enough to look closer and recognize what others have missed. In the end, the story of the 1994 1-cent coin comes down to perspective. To most people, it is nothing more than a small piece of change, easily forgotten and often ignored. But to those who understand coins, history, and human behavior, it represents something much larger. It represents the idea that value is discovered, not assigned at first glance. It proves that patience, curiosity, and knowledge can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. This coin teaches us that history is not always distant. Sometimes it sits quietly in a drawer, a jar, or a pocket, waiting for the right moment to be understood. The 1994 penny is part of a living timeline, connecting the past decisions of the U.S. Mint, the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, and the modern collector's search for meaning and rarity. It stands as evidence that even in an age of mass production, individuality and uniqueness still exist. The possibility of immense value, whether measured in thousands, millions, or even figures as bold as $98 million, is not really about the number itself. It is about what that number represents. It represents competition, recognition, and the ultimate acknowledgement that a single object has achieved legendary status. While only a handful of coins ever reach that level, the dream of discovery keeps the hobby alive and vibrant. For collectors, the 1994 1-cent coin becomes a reminder to never underestimate what is right in front of them. It encourages careful observation and respect for detail. It rewards those who take the time to learn rather than dismiss. And even if a collector never finds a life-changing example, the knowledge gained along the way becomes its own reward. As time moves forward, future collectors will look back at this era and judge which coins truly mattered. They will study population reports, auction archives, and preserved collections. Among them, the finest examples of the 1994 penny will stand as survivors, representing the peak of quality from a year once thought to be completely ordinary, and so the journey comes full circle. From a single cent to a symbol of history, rarity, and possibility, the 1994 1-cent coin reminds us that greatness is not always loud. Sometimes it is small, silent, and waiting patiently for the right eyes to recognize its worth.